100 years after Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation that freed the slaves, 200,000 people converge on the nation's capital to rally for civil rights. They come by train, they come by bus and by air. They come from the north, the south, the east and west. They come united in one cause, to urge Congress to pass a civil rights bill to end forever the blight of racial inequity. And who organized the rally walk with springing steps toward the speaker's stand. And there's a great swell of cheers to welcome Martin Luther King to the speaker's podium, a man who stands as a symbol of all they are fighting for.
He and I were talking Gandhian strategy in the front seat where I was driving, and my wife and Coretta King were in the back. And we heard Coretta saying, "Claire, I have this nightmare that keeps coming to me. At the end of this road that Martin had chosen to go on, he's going to be killed." And King turned back to her and he said, "Corey, as I tell you, don't keep having that nightmare of what's going to be wrong. Have a dream as to what we can do while we're here." And I didn't choose this road. They came and asked me. And he said, and you know, like I think it's a spiritual, he sort of hummed, when the Lord came by and asked, my soul said yes.
During the lifetime of my uncle, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., my dad was his brother, Reverend A.D. King. They were civil rights activists, leaders. My dad was a primary strategist. So I had an opportunity to live during the days where we had white and colored water fountains, white and colored restrooms. We couldn't stay in the hotels. We couldn't eat in the restaurants.
I remember going to a movie once in my life while growing up there. It was a white theater, and black people had to sit in the balcony, and whites were allowed downstairs. But still, I didn't sense hatred. I knew it was wrong, and I recognized that we were separated from white folks, but I didn't learn this hatred until I moved to the city, until I moved to Los Angeles at the age of 18. That's when I heard, the white man hate you, you're poor, you can't make it because of the white man. I didn't hear that growing up.
Nobody knows.
So I go back to that particular time. I can easily go back to that particular time. I remember a situation when I was 14 years old. I had gone up. When I say gone up, I left South Florida and I visited my father in South Carolina. While I was downtown, I decided to visit a cafe there. And when I went in there, I actually sat at the counter. Now, this was in 1963. I was not aware at that time. I was so naive. I was simply not aware of the fact that a colored person, at that time, they called us colored people, could not sit at a counter. So I went there and I sat at the counter there, and I ordered a cheeseburger and an order of French fries and a Coke, I believe. And the young lady back there, she was white. She placed it in a bag. And when she gave it to me, I paid for it, and I began to open the bag. I opened the bag in order to eat it right there on the counter. And of course, she said to me, she said, "Young man, you can't eat that here." And I said, "Why not?" Honestly, sincerely, not being funny, I really didn't know. She said, "You just can't eat that here." She says, "You need to take that and go." And so, in essence, I did that after I saw the looks on the faces of all the other white people in the building. And right then and there, I was faced head on for the first time in my life with race discrimination. That I felt that for the first time in my life that I was not as good as. So I did leave. I left. And when I walked outside of the cafe, I couldn't eat the sandwich. I was so heartbroken. And I actually cried. I actually wept for a moment there. And of course, I caught a ride.
I had a white racist shipmate drop 2,800 pounds on me trying to kill me because of the color of my skin. I would spend the rest of my life in pain because of that. I have blood clots and bad back and busted hips and three broken ribs, and I'm going to be in pain the rest of my life. Every day of my life, I'm going to be uncomfortable behind this racist white boy. And I went to Berkeley angry, mad, and everything white. Broke up with a girl, she had a white dog. I didn't want nothing white in my life. I hated everything white. Even though 8 white guys rescued me, it didn't matter, because hatred is not logical. So I was so dangerous that my brother was dating a white girl and nobody was to tell me. That's how bad I was. Nobody was to tell me. They would not tell me that he was dating a white girl. Because I was just insane. I was mentally ill with rage.
And I grew up in that era. I went to segregated schools in Chicago, and so I remember it vividly, as any black who grew up in that time does. And when we were in that time, we had no moral authority. We were in fact second class, and I couldn't get jobs. I couldn't walk in neighborhoods. I couldn't be a paper boy in a white neighborhood. They didn't want a black kid riding his bike at 6 in the morning through their neighborhood.
Martin wanted some shoes, and they were real cute. And they went to the store, but in the South in those days, if you were black, you had to go into the back. You couldn't try on the shoes. And so the man says to my grandfather, "You need to get up and leave. Who do you think you are? You're gonna try on shoes in this store?" And he called him a name. So Daddy King pretty much said, "Keep your money, let's go." And so Martin was pretty much like, "Well, Dad, why didn't we just get the shoes?" And he says, we're men, and we stand up, and nobody makes us, we're not to be made to feel less.